Okay, great. So we are live for episode 22 of the Audacious Explorer. Today with us is Vianessa Castaños. Am I
Castaños. Got it. No, you got it right.
Okay, we did it. Yay. I'm happy to have you here today, Vianessa. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Great. So we had a little bit of technical difficulties. This always happens with Be
Oh,
Live, but we are here now, and I'm really psyched to get this going. Just give me a second so that I can share this within my group, and we are gonna get this party started.
perfect.
Okay, so maybe in the meanwhile, Vianessa, because I have not introduced you, you are the founder of the Hustle Juice. And your tagline is inspiration for the inspired, freshly squeezed. Initially, I thought that you were like delivering services, health services.
I like to thank people. Yes.
So that's very ingenious. Tell me, how did you come up with this hustle juice, like the name for your business?
Funnily enough, like most things in my life, it started off kind of as a joke. Um, I've been freelancing for a very long time. I've been freelancing, oh my goodness, at this point, maybe 12 or 13 years. And I have other friends who are freelancers. They're journalists, they're social media managers, they're writers. And I was speaking to a friend of mine once who actually I'm sharing this flat with at the moment, who is a freelance journalist. And, you know, we were just having a discussion and I was like, I'm really burnt out. I'm tired of hustling all the time. And she made some sort of joke about, oh, you just gotta drink your juice or like find an energy drink type of thing. And we were just at that point really delirious and we thought it was the funniest thing ever. And we're like, oh yeah, I should start a website called Hustle Juice. And then we like laughed it off. And a couple of weeks later, you know what? I am going to start a website called Hustle Juice and I'm going to make it for freelancers and other people who kind of work in not specifically creative fields, but you know, who kind of need inspiration or who are constantly looking for clients or looking for work. And that's kind of how the website came to be.
Okay, great. I loved how you started this. Like everything in my life, it started with a joke.
That's the best way things should start off as a joke. If it makes you laugh, it'll work. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely, I love it. I love the energy. I love the spirit. So basically, at this moment, you are creating a lot of content that is helping everybody who is either a digital nomad or freelancers, maybe people who are aspiring to become digital nomads.
Yes. So that's the plan, is whether you're already a freelancer or a digital nomad or location or independent, or maybe you just want to learn how to work remotely. That's what the site is there for. So we have information. It kind of falls into three categories. There's the lifestyle stuff, which is, you know, how to keep your sanity. It's okay to feel depressed. It's, you know, that kind of reminder that you're a normal person. We have the freelance section, which is more information about finding clients, how to negotiate your rate. And then also the travel section. If you are location independent or you want to be work remotely or have that freedom to travel, be a digital nomad, we have information on that as well. You know, kind of how to get around, what cities have good Wi-Fi, things like that.
I love it. I love how it's like kind of coming together as three different directions, and all of them are very relevant for anybody who's location independent or who wants to become location independent. I'm curious about the biggest struggle that you feel or that you came across as a digital nomad.
The biggest struggle, I think it really kind of has to do with like a mental hurdle. Because I've freelanced for so long, I've technically been location independent. So I've always traveled or gone on holiday. I was based in Los Angeles for 11 years. No!
Okay, yes.
Which is it? Am I here? Am I not here?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was very frustrating for me at the beginning to see that I'm invisible. Could you still hear me?
An emotional roller coaster for me.
Yeah. Talking about struggles, you see.
I know. This is it. This is the digital nomad struggle. You know, I was going to say it was like the mental hurdle of like figuring out when to travel, but no, it's the tech. It's the calls that drop and the internet that's inconsistent. And yeah.
Okay, cool. So you've started 13 years ago, right? Around 13 years ago. I imagine that when you started, the scene of digital nomads was very different than what it is today.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. I mean, first of all, the term digital nomad itself is kind of a fairly new idea. And, you
Yeah.
know, I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but, you know, it makes sense in terms of marketing and kind of getting that idea streamlined because it's kind of self-explanatory. But location independent and working remotely isn't anything new. It's, you know, it's been happening since the beginning of time. But I think now people realize that they can actually use that freedom and travel and be free. So definitely the attitude around it has changed. There's more flexibility, and there's more companies, more employers that are open to the idea of remote workers. So, you know, I think it's a really exciting time. You know, I've never been an office person. I can't work in the same space for, you know, 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day or whatever. So it's nice to see that it's kind of becoming a little bit more common to be able to work remotely and to travel.
And I guess accepted, because for me, when I started, and I started 6 years ago, I think, the biggest question was, is there something wrong with me? Because I cannot fit and I cannot spend time like in a physical contained space and work on a schedule. Is there something wrong with me?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that too of and it's not even that. I think we're always our own worst critics, and we kind of analyze and criticize ourselves. But really, it seems to be more so the other people, like, what do you do for work? How do you make money? What do you mean you don't go in an office? And it was just like this crazy idea of like, you must be like some crazy person. So it's nice that other people kind of understand, or are beginning to understand more, that you don't have to physically be in an office in order to get work done or to be productive. So we're not crazy.
Yeah. Well, a little bit, but at least it's like
crazy getting fun.
Yeah, cool. Can we go back to that specific moment? Do you remember the specific moment when you decided, okay, I want to be location independent, and I could not see myself living in the same place and working the same place for like a long period of time?
Yeah. So I've moved around my whole life. I've traveled a lot with my family. We kind of, growing up, I don't really have a home. So when people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, I don't know. I was born in Boston, but I was raised in Dominican Republic and like 6 other places. So that idea of moving around is something that's always been a part of me. But I tried really hard to, you know, like I said, I worked in entertainment. I was in LA for 11 years, and it was good. It was great. But the entire time I felt very uncomfortable and kind of like, it was a choice for me to be there. I chose to be there, but I felt stuck at the same time. It just felt like I was doing something that wasn't necessarily, the work I was doing was in my nature, but living in one place wasn't. And I think I just got to the point where I was just really burnt out, and I was like, you know what, I've lived here long enough. And about 2 years ago, my parents were living in San Francisco, and I was like, well, I'm just going to leave Los Angeles. I'll go to San Francisco for a while. I'll bounce around to different places in the US because I have friends in different parts of the country. And then I ended up leaving San Francisco. I moved to New York City. I did that for a few months. And I went on holiday last year to Spain. I did the Camino de Santiago because I was kind of like at this place where like, okay, I moved to New York. I could totally live in New York forever, but the jobs that I wanted weren't really panning out, and I was doing this freelance work that I wasn't really crazy about. So I was like, I'm going to go on holiday, clear my head, and then come back with some sort of life plan. I had no idea what I was doing. So I packed my bags and I went into the Camino de Santiago for my birthday last year. And when I got back to New York, I was like, you know what, that's it. I'm going to keep on traveling. But at this point, instead of just traveling within the US, I want to travel internationally. I'm going to start my own business. And
well, yeah, we are playing hide and seek, huh?
am I here?
Yes, you are.
Oh my God.
Physically, tangibly, you are here.
I'm always there in spirit.
Yeah.
I would be live. My connection seems to be pretty strong elsewhere, but you know what? We'll just keep logging back in. We'll keep everyone watching.
A lot of editing. I'm just going to edit it a lot. No worries.
Sorry, live people. You'll have to come back and watch the edited version. So I'm assuming I got cut off at some point there in my Camino story.
Yeah, so you were saying that once you moved back to New York, it was clear for you that you wanted to travel, but not only like within the US, internationally.
Yeah, you got the whole thing. Yeah, so that was really the moment where I decided to kind of put my travel into high gear, and I started my business, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, I already have two questions. So about the Camino de Santiago, I think that there are a lot of people out there who are like embarking on a journey because they hope that they are gonna gain the clarity that they need to move forward, either personally or professionally. So I'm curious, did you really get that out of Camino de Santiago as an experience?
Yes. So, obviously not every experience is universal for everyone. But I have a friend that did the Camino previously who for years was telling me about it. And it changed her life. And I know I met several people on the Camino as well, some of who are really close friends of mine now. And I don't know how drastically it would necessarily change somebody's life, but every single one of them has said that it affected them in some way, whether it's so interesting because you run into so many different types of people. Quite a few of the people that I met were between careers. They didn't know what they were going to do next. They were thinking about quitting their job. I walked for a while with a girl who had been in a relationship for like 10 years, and he wasn't sure whether she wanted to stay with her boyfriend or not. I don't know what happened afterwards, but it's all people who are kind of trying to either answer a question or get to know themselves better. And I would absolutely recommend it. I wouldn't say that it's going to solve all your problems, but I think anytime you put yourself in a situation that's out of your element and where you're forced to, you're not by yourself all the time. It's not completely solitary unless you want it to be. But when you're forced to be alone and kind of be with your thoughts and talk to other people who are going through things that are similar to you, and you see like this is like a universal, it's a human experience. And you also meet people who are going through things that are completely different. But again, it's just fascinating to meet so many people from different places, and whether or not you get an answer to whatever question you're asking, no one can promise that, but it is absolutely enlightening and it will change and affect your life. So go for that journey if you're not just the Camino, but if you're thinking of going on any type of kind of self-discovery, exploratory journey, I say go for it 100%.
Yeah. I think that this is what is happening with a lot of people who are going to Southeastern Asia, for example. I was on a trip to India and it was the same thing, like soul searching, just changing the location in hopes that you are going to find something relevant for you.
Yeah. And I think what makes the Camino so appealing, I don't know if that's the word I'm necessarily looking for, but it's the fact that you're just not going to a different environment, but it's the physical challenge of it. You're walking, the entire thing is like 790 kilometers, 500 miles, something like that. If you do the entire Camino Frances, there's like different paths you can take. But it's a very physical journey. And, there are some days you can't walk and you have blisters on your feet. And sometimes your blisters get infected and you got to be, stay in a hostel for 2 or 3 days and recover. So it's not just the spiritual, let me go find and be zenned out and meditate. It's the physical challenge. And I think that also affects people when you push yourself and you kind of realize what you can physically do. I think that also changes people's perception of themselves. So be physical.
Yeah, I love that. It's all about pushing the limits and actually being curious about what lays beyond what you think is capable for your body.
Right.
Yeah, cool. So the second question was, I think that now it's hype to be a digital nomad or location independent because everybody imagines that you stay on a beach in Goa and you basically just spend your time on a beach with your laptop, which is not the case in most situations.
No, not the case.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what your lifestyle looks like now and how much amount of time you are actually investing in your business and how much time you are traveling, as in having free time to like visit places and discover and go on adventures.
This will kind of tie back into the question you asked me earlier about the challenges of being a digital nomad. Last year, I traveled for about 6 months, Hi. I traveled for about 6 months, I would say consecutively. I spent some time living in Spain. I spent 3 months living in Egypt. And then I spent several more weeks just traveling through Europe. And it kind of tied in with the winter holidays where things were a little bit slower. But after that, I decided I came back to the US for a few months. I'm actually in Miami right now to kind of get organized and use this as a home base to kind of travel from here. So I have some trips to the Caribbean planned, but I'll come back to the home base in Miami. And I think everybody works at a different pace. But for me, I find it really difficult to be one of those nomadic people who goes to a new destination every week or every month even. I work in a creative industry. My website requires a lot of writing, but also I freelance, but I'm a script writer. So I have to constantly write stories and write scripts for videos. And for me, I love planning logistics and I love travel, but I get so excited about it that everything else kind of falls apart. And my job requires me to be creative all the time. And I can't be creative all the time if I'm constantly moving. So I've decided that what works for me is to stay in one place for 3 months or 6 months and then kind of use that as a home base and kind of, go back and forth. And that said, I still work. I still work full-time, maybe sometimes more than full-time, between running Hustle Juice and then also my clients. I work easily. It really depends on the day of the week. I could work anywhere from 4 hours a day to 10 hours a day. So depending on the day, I might not even leave the co-working space or the apartment or the coffee shop because, I do leave the home to go work. Otherwise it gets kind of crazy and boring in here. I have never taken my laptop to the beach. I don't know that I would ever do that because it would probably overheat and get sand in it, but it does make for a great photo. So yeah, I think it's a balancing act, and it really depends on what you have on your plate and what kind of work you do and what kind of personality you have and how you organize yourself. So I do have a lot of free time to do the things that I want to do. But that doesn't mean I have free time all the time. There are some days where, maybe the whole week I'll be working because I have a job. And then the following week I can go to the beach several times, or I can go explore, or I can travel somewhere. But it kind of just depends. There's no cut and dry way to be nomadic. It's kind of whatever works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking now, because many people are asking me, okay, but what are actually the benefits of working for yourself and being location independent? And I just realized, listening to you, like hearing you speak, for me, it's not about the work, because the amount of work, probably I'm working now more than when I was working in an office, but it's the quality of work and it's how I view work, because I'm like really passionate about what I'm doing. And when I'm shooting my videos, I do it very differently than when I was doing client work, because I was like, I don't like this. My heart was not in that. So I think that this is the main focus and the main discrepancy between working for somebody, like being an employee, and doing your own thing.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. Like, I love the work I do. I enjoy the work I do for myself, but I also enjoy the work that I do with the clients that I have, because it's gotten to the point where I know what I'm good at and I know what I enjoy doing. And so if I'm seeking a client, which fortunately I'm not at this time, knock on wood, which is a stressful process, but I kind of know what will work for me and what I'll be good at and what I'll enjoy versus being stuck in something that is not enjoyable for me anymore. But also I think just having the ability to work from home, even if you have a full-time 9-to-5 job with a company or an office, it's a great benefit, because just having the flexibility to kind of not be in the office changes people's outlook and changes their enjoyment of the work they do. So, someone might be miserable being in an office 9-to-5, but if they had that same job and were able to work in a co-working space, or were able to work at home at least once, twice, 3 times a week, I think their attitude towards their job would change drastically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. I'm curious about how you view success in your business. Like, what does business success look to you? Frozen again.
Sorry. Okay, so how I define success, I think Oh man, I feel like that's such a loaded kind of a almost emotional question. Because I don't define success by finances. Because I'm definitely not rich by any means. So I can't be like, oh, well, I define success when I make my first million or when I whatever. That would be amazing. And I would be definitely successful in those terms. But I already consider myself successful. I'm working on a business that I love. I'm working with even the freelance client that I have. I love the work that I do for them. And I'm finally at a point where I have the freedom to do the work that I want. So to me, that is success. I'm happy. So I think that is the ultimate sign of success, is whether or not you're happy. And I'm quite happy with my life right now.
I love that. I really, really do love that. Thanks for sharing that. I could feel it, and it's absolutely. I think that success it's very different from, like, the perspective on success is very different from one person to another. But just the way that you led with that, we're like, I love my life. Like, I'm happy. That's success for me. That's absolutely great.
And it's true. And it's I don't say it lightly. I'm 35 years old. I have quite a bit of life experience and work experience, and not everything was happy all the time, or not everything was how I wanted it to be. But I think I'm definitely at a point where I do feel successful, and I am genuinely happy. And I want to help other people be happy and achieve their life and work success. So hopefully, if anything, this will help people kind of feel successful in their own right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to something that you mentioned in the first minutes of the conversation. You mentioned an article about depression and how that's okay. It's okay to go through all sorts of emotions, not only as a location independent person or digital nomad, or just like a human being. And I love the fact that more and more people are speaking up about this and are really talking about how important it is to just like let all ranges of emotions express, and to like not blame yourself or auto-flagellate because you have shitty days, because it's absolutely normal to have shitty days.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's kind of a societal thing where you're supposed to put on the best filter, like on Instagram, or be happy all the time. But you know what? Things aren't happy all the time, and it's fine. Sometimes things are miserable. Sometimes you go through shitty situations. Sometimes things are slightly less bad, but still kind of bad. I think the beauty of being human is in having all those emotions and in having all of those thoughts and those feelings, and allowing yourself to feel that. And that's really not repressing yourself, because once you allow yourself to have all those thoughts and those feelings, I feel like you get to better know yourself. And getting to know yourself is like the first step to figuring out what makes you happy and what kind of lifestyle it is that you want. And it's really not something that is, I guess, generally encouraged. Like, people aren't encouraged to, it's don't cry, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. Oh, you're traveling, how can you be depressed? How can you be homesick if you're in Thailand? And it's like, no, that Thailand might be a beautiful place, but you can still feel homesick. You can still be unhappy with certain things while you're there. That doesn't make you any better or worse than anybody else. It just means you're a normal person who has a full range of thoughts and emotions, and it's perfectly okay.
Yeah, so many things are bubbling in my head when I'm listening to you. So one of them is the fact that many people associate our lifestyle, like being able to work from anywhere and having the luxury to choose who you are working with freedom, right? And for me, freedom is like my main value, is my main drive in life. And I think that freedom, many people think about freedom as in financial freedom or being free to travel wherever you want. But actually what you are talking about, and I think it's very relevant for whomever is watching this live, is this emotional freedom, because you are not free unless you allow yourself to really be who you are.
I think the emotional freedom, at least for me, probably trumps everything else. It's vitally important, and it is weird being in the digital nomad space or being in the traveler space and constantly running into people where it's like, you're so lucky and look how great this is. And but in the second that you say, well, you know what, I went to such and such place and I wasn't really too crazy about it, people like jump down your throat because it's like you're almost expected to love everything, and you can't. No human being can love every single thing about everything. You know, like I lived in Egypt for 3 months. I love Egypt. I enjoyed my time there, but living there, I don't know that I would do it again. You know, I would absolutely go back on holiday. I would absolutely go back to visit. But 3 months was enough for me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Whereas Pakistan, I love Pakistan. I'm going to go back over and over and over again. You know, I think it's just, you're allowed to have preferences and to like different things and not like different things and express those thoughts. And it's just, I don't know, it's like it's almost like a weird bubble when you're in the digital nomad traveler space of just like, happy, everything's great. And it's really not all the time.
Yeah, Mihai made a really good joke about Frozen is Olaf there, so I just wanted to share this. Something else that popped to my mind is the fact that you are an entrepreneur, right? So like you are an owner of your business, and many people expect us, I mean, like they think that we got lucky, you know what I mean? Or that we are chosen, or that we are special. I heard this a lot in my life. It's like, of course you did it because I don't know, you are short and funny, whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever reason they find. And I'm like, you know, like, I'm like, no, I work my ass, you know, like I'm still working my ass. This didn't come easy to me. It does not come easy to me. It might seem that it's easy for us just because you see me traveling, but it's not easy. And I think that a part of this, like embarking on a journey where you are really sharing different facets of your life is very empowering, because then people are like, okay, so you are real, you are human. And even if you have maybe a lifestyle that some people are dreaming of, you are still going through the same shitty things that all people are going through. Yeah, that's absolutely normal. Cool. I think that it was on my soul because I really needed to share this.
Of course.
Okay, at this moment in your life and in your business, what do you find most rewarding?
I find anyone that tells me or shows me that anything that I've done has been useful to them is rewarding. Because a lot of the times, you know, I'll write something or I'll do something, and part of it stems from, I find this interesting, so I'm gonna explore this topic. I'm gonna write about this. But when I get comments from people or I'll get emails from people, I recently brought on a contributing writer to the website, and, you know, her email was like, she loves the site, she loves what it stands for, and she willingly just wanted to contribute to the site. And things like that excite me when other people see the potential in what I'm doing, or they find what I'm doing to be useful. I think that's what really excites me, because at the end of the day, what I want to do is help people. And knowing, I guess, kind of getting that validation that I am helping some people. It might be on a small scale, but I'm helping them nonetheless. I think ultimately that's what it's about.
I love that. Service. Leading to service. Cool. This is mostly it. I just have this last question about your inspiration. Who inspires you, and who inspired you throughout your life journey?
So, as cheesy as it might sound, my inspiration these days is probably my little sister. I have a sister who's 20. I'm 15 years older than her, so I feel like I'm her mother sometimes. And she's in university right now, but she's bright and smart and probably one of the most genuinely kind people. Like, she doesn't know how to be mean. I don't know. She's just, I'm in awe of her. You know, this is fine because I love talking about my little sister, so I'll do it all over again. No, but really, my inspiration is probably my sister. A lot of what I do is for her, in the sense that, you know, I want to be a positive role model, but also I really, she's just so bright and such a great human being that I'm like, oh, I kind of want to be a little bit more like her and just be more, you know, just open and genuine and nice and loving like she is. And yeah, other than that, honestly, I think I just find inspiration in the world around me. You know, I'm an artist by nature. I'm an artist by trade, and you know, like history and literature and all those things have always fascinated me. I've been fascinated by the human condition and just kind of humanity as a whole. This just turned into like the nerdiest, the most nerd conversation ever. But no, I just find inspiration in so many different places that it's hard to just pick one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved when you offered the spotlight to your sister, and like how much love you have for her, and how much appreciation you have for her. So one last comment from Mihai, who's talking about what we were. I mean, like he's reinforcing what we said, that there's work in being an entrepreneur, and of course there is luck. I guess that you can see that as luck too, but talent and hard work, I think, are key.
It's definitely hard work, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like you said, a lot of people do think, oh, you got lucky, but you know, being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter if you're creating a product or anything. There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes, and so much work that you do for free. I mean, and most of people who are entrepreneurs, they're doing this while they have another job, and now you're trying to start your own business, which is it's more than full time. You know, being an entrepreneur, you're dedicating hours and hours and hours on end, and money. Like I've put so much money into my business, and I'm fine with it. It's not a complaint by any means, but it's a lot of work and it's a huge investment. And you know, it's really easy to be on the outside looking in and just see the finished product and it's like, oh, it looks nice. You know, she has a great bubbly personality. I can see why it happened. And it's like, no. I could write a book. I should write a book. But yeah, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah. But it's fun. Absolutely. I wanted to make this joke. I built this motherfucker, you know, like it did not come easy to me.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so thank you very much, Vianessa. It was a pleasure having you here. Let's share with the people who are watching and will be watching your website so they can find you on thehustlejuice.com. Yes. And also they can find you on Instagram and on Twitter with @hustle_juice.
Yes, they can find me. And if you guys have any questions about anything freelance or location independent, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. I live for this stuff. And thank you so much, Anka, for having me on. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. It was great. Hey, Christian. Thank you, everybody who watched. Thank you, Vianessa, for being here one more time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you somewhere in the world.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you edit this thing together with all of the things. Good luck to you.
Thank you. I'm going to contact Be Live and I'm going to be like, dude,
file a complaint for sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Vianessa, again, and have a happy day. Bye.
Bye.